Here we are. Winner of this series will win the group. And what that means is you go directly to the quarterfinals. So you skip a playoff series essentially and put you deeper into that playoff bracket to potentially win it all. TaToH at 8 wins right now. ACCM at 8 wins right now. We know whoever wins this will go first. Whoever loses is still probably in the playoffs unless they get swept. I believe that is the situation. So it could be, if one player is way better than the other today, that one of these big names drops down to that 4th place spot and Winchester goes into the playoffs. It was a crazy group, Ornlu. We have TaToH as the Khmer and ACCM as the Bengalis. It should be the perfect finish.
Yeah, this is just definitely the most exciting set of the day. Really looking forward to it. And we're just starting out here with a big boomy map with 2 civs that love their farming and just getting to late game. This is, I think, going to be very exciting.
And we haven't seen the Bengalis that frequently on this map. We've seen a lot more Burgundians and a lot more Bohemians, I guess, due to how the drafts have played out. But I like the Bengalis, the additional Vills, having the Armored Monks when there's 9 relics out there is fantastic. But I also am really taking a liking to Khmer. Years ago, people were picking Khmer in arena tournaments and going for the fast TCs. But then eventually, it would just come down to the situation where their tech tree wasn't as good, and they wouldn't be able to force the issue. I think on this map, due to the other aspects of it, the north and the south being exposed, people seem to like the Khmer. And I hated it until I saw it work, and then I've seen it work multiple times. We had Ballista Elephants from Nikov dominating a game against Burgundians, and then we had, was it ACCM? ACCM tried Khmer, and I think TaToH was the one who actually maybe... Oh, I'm misremembering, Ornlu. I actually think TaToH died to it against somebody.
Yeah,
against
I'm
Finch.
afraid I don't remember
against
either.
Finch. That's what it was. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. What I can say, however, is that Khmer are going to be their happiest when they don't have to face a strong, siege civ. No bombard cannons, no siege onagers, and that is Bengalis. So the chances of getting to a huge blob of ballista elephants seems a little bit higher here.
Okay, so are ballista elephants overpowered? Yes or no?
I don't know. I feel like it's tough, right? Because both civs are so strong economically. So I think what's actually going to be really important is who leans harder into getting to their late game comp, likely at the risk of losing all of these yummy relics.
Yeah.
I feel like that's probably going to be one of the more important dynamic here, is just because both civs have such strong death balls.
Well, a good way on a map like this to get to that eco is to actually have a bit of an extended Castle Age. So obviously the TCs will come up eventually, but what I mean by that is, let's say you're 3 TCs and you click Imp at 100 Vils. Well, then you've got 2 TCs producing Vils. You maybe get Imp, I can't do math, at let's say 110, 115. That's not going to be enough for either of these civs. Their units are really expensive. So this feels like a matchup, just early prediction here, where we may see a lot of investment in Castle Age. And they might not click Imp until they have 130 or 140. And what TaToH likes to do is he likes to go double, triple stable for map control in late Castle Age. And I wonder if ACCM will match that, or if ACCM will think about pikemen.
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility. ACCM, I mean, as Bengalis, he can go for his own light cav, and that's totally fine. I'm not too sure which of these civs has the better pure boom. I rarely want to argue against Khmer because of the, they have a great eco throughout so much of the game because of the farmers. You're fast because you don't need the buildings, and you have the farmers on top of it, where it feels like it might take a little bit longer for the extra Bengali Vills to pay off relative to a top-tier civ like Khmer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've not seen enough games of Bengalis Khmer boom v boom to really be able to tell you who does better there. I have seen Burgundians and even humans, and I think even Malay against Khmer enough times to maybe have a feel for it. I would guess that most likely the boom's relatively even if they both commit to it, but the Bengalis are one step removed from having to then compete for map control with scouts because they have to add the barracks, I guess.
Yeah, that's although you can add spearmen and it becomes a little bit more of a unique dynamic.
Yeah.
Also, these are 2 civs I feel like want to click up very quickly. Khmer so you can make full use of not needing to gather that much wood, and Bengalis just because I've always felt like the sooner you get the extra villagers, the better. So just click up early when you can.
Why is TaToH randomly walking with his villager to build a house there and a farm?
The rent prices were too high in the city center.
I mean, I know I would prefer to be out of the city center and over here by this house, but like, it's just weird. It's like he had a plan for that ville. It's not that big a deal. You can farm out here. Maybe he's doing it for the viewers, but it felt like he was walking out there with a purpose. Maybe he thought there was something over there that wasn't. So,
you know, he tried to go with the forward where he thought if he went across at the edge of one side of the map, he'd go to the other side of the map like Pac-Man, and then he could go for the sick forward. But unfortunately, TaToH doesn't have enough experience to know that AoE 2 doesn't work like that.
So, speaking of Pac-Man, I had a family vacation last year, and we had a place in the Poconos, and it was a nice little place. And in the basement was this old Pac-Man machine. And at first I was like, oh, that's cool, you know. But then at a certain point, my brother and I started to compete, and we just back and forth, back and forth. We stayed up all night, and I didn't realize how fun that was, dude. I haven't played it in so long. And so now I'm planning our next little family vacay, and I'm trying to find another Pac-Man machine. And that's really hard to find. You're not going to find places with Pac-Man machines. So, oh, man.
That's awesome. I actually had a similar experience. Like, I would go to... like my aunt and uncle had a ski house that they had, and in there, because their kids were a lot older than me, they had like an actual Nintendo Entertainment System, like the original one.
Yeah.
So we would like stay up all night playing like the original Super Mario and Duck Hunt and stuff like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think it's in my parents' attic somewhere, but we do have the original Nintendo and like the Super Nintendo. I remember playing obviously like Mario and whatnot, but Duck Hunt was one of mine. It was like revolutionary. Oh, yeah. You get a gun and you point it at the TV. It was a good time. And then there was Age of Empires, of course.
Well, yeah, there is always Age of Empires.
So 5 on gold right now for ACCM, and he hasn't added a barracks or a stable. So this feels like a big boom, or he's going to go double monastery monks. Because the gold income could be helpful to buy and just, balance your resources. But 5 on gold should indicate some monks if he's not doing that.
I feel like especially after they changed the market prices so that food was more expensive, it's better to just pull the vills off of gold if you're going for a pure boom.
Agreed.
But like we were saying, on a map with so many relics, you want to at least get a little bit of map control, unless your name is TaToH, who has gone completely off of gold.
Yep. TaToH got enough gold to make 1 monk. That seems calculated. And goes for the TCs. This is pretty common. I think if you go up this fast, you pretty much need to go TCs first to maximize on the boom, and then later on we'll see the stable. But ACCM got the additional 2 vills when he made it to feudal. Now he'll get the additional 2 vills when he makes it to castle. We'll say this is a really fast uptime. Like, usually civs are not able to be this competitive with the TC timings against the Khmer.
Yeah, and that part of that is, of course, just the fact that Bengalis get those extra vills. You can get them running a little bit more quickly. Notably, you have the monastery coming in for our red player, not for our blue players, TaToH. Going with the pure eco approach, both players able to pick up Bowsaw. And I gotta say, T90, this is my kind of game right here. You're doing
the
nothing but
boomy
sitting
game.
Back and booming.
So I think I know, but I'm curious. Do you, like, when you're playing ranked, do you leave Arabia open? Do you favorite it? Do you favorite Arena? I know you're more of a boomy player, but that doesn't necessarily mean you don't play a map like Arabia. I was curious.
I used to leave Arabia open and favored Arena, and I felt like that gave me a pretty good balance of games, but I just really don't like the Arabia meta these days with the super fast up timings and snowballing feudal age advantages, so I usually just ban Arabia.
Okay, got it.
I play the other maps, like play the Nomad style maps and water maps and stuff.
Do you consider yourself a clown, or are you do you have like clown heritage that you still appreciate but don't, fully attached to your identity? Like, where's your situation there?
Well, you know, my ancestors came from the old country of the circus. The customs and traditions have been passed down for generations of the Ornlu clan.
So you're like, you're a boomy clown, not a spam monks control group clown.
Yeah, exactly. Although I don't mind playing the full monk style either.
Okay, interesting. All right. All right, good to know. I never really talked to you about it. I've always known that you're more of a boomer as opposed to, you know, the super aggressive play. So, I mean, these, I totally get. I mean, everyone likes something different, right? But if you think of the average experience that people have had with Age of Empires 2, games did not end in feudal age, or were even anywhere close, right? It's a slow build-up. What's beautiful about this game for me is all the different stages. And a map like this really takes advantage of it, especially fortified clearing, because you've got hills on Lake Arena, so there's that aspect to take advantage of. You've got additional stones and golds on the outsides. It's going to be a good one here. And I'm still wondering, how do you stop Elite Ballista Elephant? Is it, or do you even go Elite Ballista Elephant? Can TaToH go just full Scorpion against a Civ that doesn't get Bombard Cannon? That might be the better play.
Something involving a Scorpion definitely makes the most sense. I mean, it's kind of a hot topic these days with people like, okay, are Khmer too strong? Like, I was really worried after the Scorpion buffs and the Elephant buffs that Khmer are now a Civ that can play like a very sort of standard unit style with an amazing eco very well, and you also now have an insane late game. And it's like one of those situations where they got their tech tree buffed and then their eco buffed and then their military buffed again.
Yes, I personally felt, even prior to Ballistics benefiting Scorpions, that Khmer Scorpions were already borderline broken. And then they had buffed Ballistas, so I thought they were borderline broken. And now, of course, it's all affected by Ballistics, so I do absolutely think it's broken. The other thing I'll say, with the state of balance, there's a lot of times we're using the word broken. They have buffed a lot of things, so, you know, it's like, maybe it's a broken comp that is amongst other broken comps as TaToH comes to you with the light Kev. Who knows?
I mean, when you look at fun and balanced units, you look at the Ratha, and you're like, wow, that's a unit I love playing against at all stages of the game.
Oh, man. Well, nice snipe there from TaToH. So he was delayed in making the light cab because of his boom. But this is exactly what we talked about. Typical TaToH, double stable. And then he adds TC number 4. But it's already 4 relics for ACCM. So you've got to be pretty happy with that, in my opinion.
Yeah, that feels good enough. There's 9 relics total on the map, right? So chances are it's not going to be a game that's decided one way or the other about with relics. And of course, the sooner you get it, the better. The relics are in a forward monastery, which is like a little concerning. But you're almost ready for a defensive castle now as ACCM. So I would say he is probably fine.
So the South, as TaToH's about to lose a monk there, nice job from ACCM. The South has both of those extra golds and one of the extra stones on the map. The North actually doesn't have a lot of mineable resources. So there's more relics up there, but I think this hill, which ACCM is outposting, is critical long-term.
Is there more gold on this version of Fortified Clearing than in the past? I don't remember it having so much gold on the outside.
I don't think we made a change to it. I looked at this in another generation the other day, and usually it's each player gets 2 golds at home, and then there's 2 more golds on the outside because of the north. Well, I don't know why, actually. You would think that maybe the golds would spawn in the north instead of the south because there's less space, but there's only 2 additional gold spots on the outside is my point. But I don't think that's changed.
Okay, I'll definitely take your word for it. As we have the defensive castle now coming in here from ACCM. He's picking up Redemption, he's picking up Pikemen. So really, it's going to be more a matter of trying to not die right now. And with TaToH making all of this investment into military here in Castle Age, we should imagine our red player is going to have a faster imp, especially if he can push this back right now.
Redemption is such a sick choice. Like, to know that TaToH was going to take the map control and potentially mix in Scorpions and get Redemption there is such a sick choice. 2 conversions. TaToH can't run through. There's a castle now. Now, TaToH will actually be through right after I say that. And this could be annoying, but there's still town centers. The castle for ACCM will go up. But this is TaToH. He loves to make things chaotic in late Castle Age.
Yeah, you were spot on with that analysis earlier. The double stable came in just sort of as we expected it, and now he's all up in the back of ACCM's base, just as ACCM clicks up to Imp, so this is a really inopportune time for him. But the castle is there. It's going to keep out those siege units for now, and I don't think TaToH is going to be anything more than annoying, even though being annoying is, well, annoying.
Yeah, and that could potentially be a problem, right? If you aren't finding value to the additional food you're spending right now, and ACCM is going to get even more villagers when he makes it to the next stage, have more time to think about what comp to make, get more monk upgrades, get Halb, TaToH could have issues. I think he will go in. He's still trying to engage against these monks. More scorpions involved for TaToH, but more scorpions got converted by ACCM. But it's just tough to play in ACCM's position. It feels like you're reacting an awful lot.
It feels really tough as both players, honestly, because like how on earth are you supposed to get damage done here? Now, as TaToH, you have the Ratha out. They're going to be easily able to snipe units. TaToH's own monk production wasn't all that great. And now he's just slower to Imp and is in, you know, a situation where he could easily lose all of this map control he's been fighting so hard to gain.
Ratha were a great addition here, too. Like, you can't make knights or anything, but Ratha can just switch to melee mode, snipe some of those scorpions. ACCM just saw the castle from TaToH. I'm wondering if he brings Vils to drop a castle next to the workshops now. Feels like that's what we're seeing. For the faster Imp, he could go for the Trebs.
He could go for the Trebs, but the first Ballista Elephant is on the way. And that is such a scary unit these days, but the castle coming forward, and this is where the castles of TaToH are important just as Ballista Elephant factories, if that's really what you want to go for as the game goes on.
Yep.
Although cutting through on this map is actually really good now that I think about it.
Yeah, cutting through could be huge. There's a lot more scorpions here. TaToH had sniped some of the monks, so there's not enough monks to convert more scorpions, or the elephant for that matter. And the Ratha were ranged mode, not melee mode, so you have to switch that. But the castle is up for ACCM, and with that, when he made it to Imp, he got 2 Vils from each TC. So I think he's 5 TCs, so we got a spike of 10 Vils, and importantly, he does have control of the south right now.
Indeed, there was another conversion there from TaToH, but currently TaToH had to be a bit more passive with his walling than he probably would like, and he's going to have to cede control of that hill to the south, which is just going to be so important, as we're saying, as so many resources there to protect over the long run, especially if neither player has decisive control of the middle, right? Because if you're pushing someone really hard in the middle, then you can kind of take their extra resources, but that probably isn't going to be the case here.
ACCM might want to consider toggling auto farm at this point. I know that you would have it at this point, and I know why pros don't have it. They won't have it sometimes because they need the wood for other things. But this is a pretty boomy game. He's used the Ballista Elephant that he converted to cut into TaToH's base. That's crazy resourceful, but TaToH was ready for him anyways.
Oh, that's really cute. I mean, that's the sort of thing that not that many players would do, but you are not surprised to see it from actually either of these guys. But yeah, cute little move there from ACCM. And if he can keep it alive, he can just sort of cut to the edge of the map whenever he wants to.
I mean, Ornlu, the two things we talked about Khmer being OP with, Scorpions and Ballistas. All that production, the buildings they're produced out of, are all under fire right now. The castle, the siege workshops. This is not what TaToH would have wanted at all.
And look at this. He's having to build all those siege workshops way to the back of the map, and it looks like it'll be Hussar plus Scorpion as the combo, which in a world without bombard cannons for the Bengalis, that feels like a pretty good idea, as I think it would probably just be a little too difficult to get to those Ballista Elephants at this stage.
ACCM needs to re-wall. ACCM losing Vils on that stone, and TaToH finding the damage. Let's not forget TaToH has the outpost there, so he could see all of that, and TaToH's going to run through as well, so this is what the Khmer want. Third or fourth time TaToH's getting into ACCM's base, and ACCM has to react. But dude, this feels like... This isn't technically a final, but this feels like the final with the group, right? These two are firing on all cylinders, back and forth action, but still, TaToH does not have a way to win the main fights right now. That's my concern.
Well, he needs time to develop those Scorpion numbers, and he does have 4 siege workshops in the back of his base, so he'll get there, but he's still missing, well, all of the relevant upgrades except for ballistics. You don't have heavy Scorpion, you don't have siege engineers or double crossbow, And those are 4 trebuchets barreling down on you very quickly now from ACCM. So TaToH needs to buy a lot more time.
Look at the resources for ACCM. 150 vills, 37 on gold, 36 on food, 38 on wood, 28 on stone. You don't see ratios like that normally. That's crazy.
He can even pick up Mahayana in a second and give himself another 15 pop space, which is always really nice for Bengalis in the late game since their units are so expensive.
Yep. There's double crossbow for TaToH. That's one of the upgrades he'll want for the Scorpions. That is a lot of Scorpions right there. And it can only get stronger for TaToH. So maybe that's why ACCM's forcing the issue here. He's going to fight this. I guess he doesn't see their elites. And is he using the Trebs on the castle or the Scorpions? Okay, the castle. And he's going to back off now.
But this is also very relevant where Bengalis don't have that last infantry armor upgrade, which would be very nice to have against all those Scorps, which are not heavy just yet. You even have Devotion coming in as well. And right now for TaToH, again, it's a matter of just buying time as much as possible here. And the more you do that, the bigger the Scorp blob gets.
It's kind of crazy. That castle made so much sense from ACCM in the south, but TaToH noticed it immediately next to his walls and prepped a castle and prepped Trebs. So I think now ACCM will aim to dive with melee mode with the Ratha to snipe those Trebs. And TaToH doesn't have a ton there to defend from that. But the Ratha are still missing some upgrades too. There's not armor research for them yet. The archer armor applies to them, not the cav. And TaToH's Hussars and Castle Fire will be involved. The no armor actually really hurts. And
they have
TaToH,
pikes, though, for the faster attack speed. So
Okay.
that'll help just take down those Trebs a little bit faster. It's a very close fight, but the Vills are there to repair. So great defense so far from TaToH. And here we go, T90. Siege Engineers coming in, too. And TaToH, again, I feel like the longer he's not actively dying, the better chance he has of winning this game as things drag out.
30 Scorpions is the number for me. 30 Scorpions, and it gets to a point with this Civ where you just cannot engage easily into it. Especially with the Bengalis. Because you don't have Hussar, you don't have Bombard Cannon, and you don't have Siege Onager. And those would be the most important things. And dude, look at those Scorpions. Yeah, you can't use monks against that. You just can't. Oh my goodness.
Man. Does the phrase fun and interactive come to mind? Because I sure know it does.
And Trebs, not really protected now. They're going for the castle. They're also somewhat firing on the Scorpions, which I guess makes sense. But the Scorpions are owning everything right now. They are not, even heavy Scorpions. Oh,
jeez.
And TaToH still trebbing on the other side. ACCM and TaToH both fighting their hardest. TaToH is no stone. He doesn't really have the map control, so maybe that's a way that ACCM can hold on, is just deny him of all those resources. But yeah, ACCM, you need an answer to these Scorpions, my friends.
Yeah, and that's going to be so tough, especially as you now are getting that Hussar meat shield developed, and Khmer are just so good with that as well.
Does ACCM think that the Cav armor applies to Ratha right now? Because he doesn't have stables coming up for Light Cav, and he's only producing Ratha. It feels like maybe he's thinking that the Cav armor applies. I mean, I would get why someone would think that. It is a unit on a horse. It is confusing, but it's the archer armor that applies.
Yeah, the best way I've been able to describe it to people is think about it as a Cav Archer in every single way it can possibly be a Cav Archer, except you can switch it to melee mode and it will benefit from the attack upgrades. But that's it.
Yeah. And there is some benefit to getting those upgrades if he goes for Light Cav, so it's not completely horrible. But TaToH has stabilized very nicely here. It was 130 pop versus 190. And he has the score lead, and he has held here. It's crazy. Look how open ACCM's eco is here as the Hussar loop around for TaToH.
Oh, man. This is going to be really tough here for ACCM. And my biggest concern with him is, yes, he was pushing a lot in early Imperial Age, but he was never developing towards one of the many great Imperial Age units that Bengalis have. It's not like Bengalis have a bad late game. It's just ACCM isn't really developing towards any of it.
It is wild, though, because TaToH's going to run out of gold. Like, TaToH's doing lots of damage, but where can TaToH actually take gold? He's mining
More
gold in
relics
one
is mostly
spot.
losing Hussars.
Yeah, and he is still losing Scorpions. He still doesn't have heavy Scorpion. ACCM is the biggest fighter in the game, potentially, and he takes 2 of the Trebs, and ACCM refuses to die. Can he take the next Treb as well? He gets it!
Yes!
Wow, that's crazy. And he also tracked the raids perfectly in the back. He didn't actually lose that much to that. I can't believe ACCM just held there.
Wow, we're already off to a banger of a game number 1. That castle going down will house TaToH slightly. Heavy Scorpion is almost in, at which point you're only going to be missing chemistry, and then you'll have full upgrades on those guys. But 23, and that is getting closer and closer to 30 there.
And TaToH's got 1,500 gold left. He can't get gold in the north. They're actually going to find each other on the stone in the north, and the rest of that gold is in the south or through the relics. And ACCM's castle in the south just changed this game. I thought TaToH had all the opportunity in the world to take this castle down. Just never did.
Ooh. What do you think of the Capram decision from TaToH? It feels like he doesn't have the gold for that.
I don't mind it because you need something. It doesn't cost gold to at least get the upgrade. I don't mind it. Because you're not, once you get to 25 Scorpions, you're not spending gold on anything else because you're just going Hussar. So you actually will have a decent amount of gold as long as you're keeping your Scorpion mass alive. But the Trebs are actually doing work right now.
Yeah, of course, Scorpions just being large units are a bit easier to snipe with the Trebuchets, and there are the Ratha here, finally getting into the mix, and that is a lot of Scorpions who are going away. No Blast Furnace in yet for those Hussars, which is going to be important in just sniping high HP units like the Trebuchets. Looks like 2 of them are going to go down, maybe the last one not really targeting it as well as he needs to, and that's going to be another efficient fight here for our red player.
Yeah, in the north, we've got a Hussar from TaToH on the Vils. ACCM knows he's been spotted, though. He'll add Halbs there immediately. He also is starting to wall behind TaToH's walls. If TaToH doesn't get a unit there, TaToH won't be able to raid that area any longer. So that looks like it's going ACCM's way. TaToH needs the middle, or he needs the south right now. This whole back and forth situation is not going to last.
I think that's exactly what he's planning on doing, though. The Vils are coming forward to take the gold. The Vils are going to be ejected from the stone right there by the Scorpions. And I still feel good about the armies for TaToH going forward.
Agreed.
Great Archer armor about to be in, which is decent, but I mean, that's still a very scary Scorp blob, and the Hussars are so easy to replenish.
This, like, ACCM couldn't really have a better position to win this game, just positionally, right? You forget about the units for a second. He's got access to 7k gold in the south. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's going to have 5 castles. He's got all the stone in the north. He's got stone walls in the north. Like, the only thing he's missing is a stone wall in the south. But he could still lose because TaToH's composition just might straight up be better. Like, these Scorpions, shouldn't the Siege Elephants also die to these Scorpions? Oh, man.
Well, the Siege Elephants... Do they have ram armor? No, they don't have any ram armor, so the Scorpions will at least deal a little bit more damage to them.
Okay. I mean, that... They're also an elephant, which should take a little bit more damage. Either way...
They have enough elephant armor that it negates the Scorpion bonus.
Okay. I mean, TaToH's 200 pop. TaToH's got a Treb. If only he had multiple Trebs here. Like, if he had 4 Trebs right now, I would think that ACCM is cooked, but... What do you make? Like, what do you do if you're ACCM? Monks, I guess. And hope for the best.
There's a lot of hoping going on. Onager is on its way right now from ACCM, but I'm still just a little dubious about how slow he was to transition to something other than Halbs.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he had some Ratha, but not that many. No Onagers, no elephants.
Okay, but here's the thing. I'm going to be that guy. Onager doesn't work because you're outranged.
Yeah.
So it's like, and then there's Hussars too. Like, it's really just not a situation where the game should allow you to have success if TaToH's on point. And
oh my!
I mean, those Halbs can't get anywhere near the Hussars, so don't even suggest that. This is the Khmer in 2025.
This is another time where I'd like to say that I'd like to see Khmer lose husbandry and then buff their elephant movement speed boost so that they can't spam Hussars into this as easily.
9 range Scorpions, bro.
This is just absurd.
Absolutely insane. You could try and side raid, but if you... It's reached the point where if you try and raid TaToH's base, he's not leaving your base. He won't be distracted now. That had to happen earlier. It is 9 range on the onagers, so I guess Siege Engineers was in already. And maybe you're just hoping for one splat, right? One big shot, maybe 2 on these Scorpions, and then TaToH might not be able to make more of them. TaToH does have gold in the middle, though, so it's not like he's out of gold right now.
Not yet, anyway, and of course, still 4 relics. That is not insignificant. But also remember that the Scorpions were buffed to the point where they can survive an onager hit now, so you actually need to get 2 shots in.
Yep.
Which is just going to be that much more difficult.
Yep.
The Treb numbers are still very slowly climbing from TaToH, but... Oh,
I mean, if you can delete 40 units from the opponent's map in half a second, I'm going to lean towards you, but... The onagers got sniped. The Hussars went down. TaToH still isn't broken. Dude, I gotta say, ACCM continues to fight like a madman despite how many units he's losing. And if he can treb down that treb, TaToH hasn't broken him yet. And it happens.
And there you go. And that is just stalling out the push. And that is going to, in turn, now give ACCM a bit more time. Would really like to see him be able to pick up Mahayana because he's already at a compositional disadvantage.
Yeah.
So just having an extra 14 to 15 units would really, really help, I think, just get that little bit of extra over the top, pressure he can have on his opponent's army.
Okay, there's the onager. So 1 onager kill and 1 scorpion kill, and then the same thing there. But the trebs are honestly insane, though. Like, these trebs are sniping those scorpions. And TaToH Ballista Elephant cut through the trees. He's bringing rams, and he's onto the gold now. What a play.
You'll love to see that for sure. Fortified wall in for both players. You know it's a good game of AoE too when both players have researched fortified wall.
Dude, I mean, Orlu, this is the game of dreams for you, my friends. Absolute dreams. TaToH, I like this. If you have that push that commands the entirety of your opponent's attention, that's when you try and raid. And the Scorpions weren't exactly making progress anyways. I don't know, though, if this does enough to keep ACCM fully off of this gold. ACCM should probably eventually be able to get Vils to that gold. He's got Halbs on the way. And he's got 5 relics. I think it was 4 to 4 for a while, but ACCM now has 5.
Yeah, and that is something of a win condition going forward. And I hate to be that guy, but ACCM picked up guilds a long time ago when Khmer don't have that upgrade. So just throwing it out there for those of you who are experienced with very long, grindy games. ACCM is having a little bit of the better long-term planning.
So what I'm not a big fan of with the long-term plan in mind is making Ratha consistently. I don't know if they're that big of a difference maker here. They are good, and he's utilized them. But I'm seeing the stables in the south now. That's what he needs. Because you need a unit that you can toss into a ball of skirms and lose and be okay with. Beyond a Halb, which is happening. And, oh god, this is so bad for the Trebs.
There is a lot of resources down the drain all at once, and those Halbs are getting massacred too. There are 0 onagers on the field, and again, no Mahayana. You don't have that extra pop space, and when you're already at less than half the army value of your opponent, you really need it.
I mean, like we said before, remember we were worried about TaToH not having gold? If you just don't lose gold units, it's not that big of an issue. He's got 1,300 gold, and he's had 5 on gold. And there's 2,000 gold there, but he's not in a rush. Because his Scorpions just do not die. TaToH needs to cut the other side.
It's easy to keep your gold units alive with this composition, whereas you don't really get that for ACCM.
Look, ACCM rewalled, and his Halbs got stuck. So that's 30 or so units that aren't in position. But, I mean, where are you supposed to go? I think I get why he's making Halbs, but maybe some light cav is what he needs now. And now TaToH's coming in the south.
Oh boy, the Rams are there, the Treb is there. TaToH's even getting his own building HP upgrades to make sure he doesn't lose his remaining castles, and his bank is starting to climb. The Halbs are there. And to be fair, there aren't any Scorpions nearby, and that's the one weakness, right? Is that the Scorpions are very slow.
Yep, and that's why I think light cav. Light cav can be a game changer because you can be in all these different positions potentially TaToH's got enough Scorpions in here, though, that I think he wins this fight very easily. You don't need many with Khmer. And bye-bye go the Hussars. But bye-bye go the Halbs. And the castle for ACCM will fall as well.
Yeah, and a lot of units died at the front as well when ACCM was trying to convert those Scorpions, and it's just not quite enough. And the issue with going light cav is that your opponent has Hussars, and they're just better than yours.
Yeah,
so
that's true. That's true.
It's kind of tough, right? I mean, you see the light cav being mixed in here, but literally just the Hussar beats the light cav. Not by that much, but it's still relevant.
It's also really hard to use monks and onagers here. Speaking of, there go the monks for ACCM. Here come the onagers, but they're both very distracted in the southern fight. And TaToH gets flattened. Who said the Scorpions were strong? Not me.
Oh, I mean, and that's what you need to do, right? If you don't have the mobility necessarily of your units, at least force your opponent to fight in different locations. Keep them distracted. And that's at least something, but now TaToH's starting to overwhelm the South here.
Yeah, it's interesting. ACCM didn't necessarily create that opportunity. TaToH did, because TaToH started to focus on the South. I think TaToH will take the trade, though, because he can get the gold that's down here. And there's still 2,000 gold. And not only take the gold for himself, but just stop ACCM from banking it. Again, seeing a lot of Ratha in production here. Will that be an issue? Is that the unit that's actually the play here? It is way tankier than a light cav, so maybe it is good. Maybe, honestly, maybe he thinks things would just be significantly worse with only light cav.
Okay, how dumb of an idea would battle elephants be right now?
I was thinking about that earlier. Very dumb.
Yeah, they might be dumb.
If you asked me 10 minutes ago, I would say try it. But right now, you don't have a lot on gold.
Yeah.
And elephants receive bonus damage from the Scorpions. And they're stupid expensive. So, yeah, I think this game is one. If ACCM can get it to the point where TaToH can no longer afford to make Scorpions, then he wins. But he has to get it to that point. And he just lost to Treb. And he's going to lose a castle. And he's losing so much here. ACCM is falling apart.
And ACCM has so much more gold collected at this point, over 8,000 more gold. And it just doesn't matter.
Yep, doesn't matter.
Because
you have to know what this...
gold efficiency is so much higher.
Yep. You just cannot take good and easy engagements against these Scorpions. The game is definitely for TaToH as far as I'm concerned. Even though the population's even though Mahayana is in right now, this progress TaToH's making is fantastic. Look how exposed he is in the middle of the map, by the way. There's no raid potential, really, for ACCM. He can't focus on that. Oh, man, look at those onagers. Oh, my goodness. Ball of onagers here from ACCM to deal with the Scorpions. Now, he's got 4 or 5 of them, but there will be Hussars in the mix to snipe some. Treb goes down. Onager goes down. And TaToH will know about this and can just back away.
Well, at least it buys ACCM a bit more time, which I guess is something. It isn't really getting closer to winning the game, but at least he's, again, not actively dying, and there's something to be said for that, especially if he can snipe both the trebuchets here.
Yep. Every gold unit that dies is incredibly tough to replace at this point. There is a total of 2k gold left on the map. And the trebuchets for TaToH, he might lose them, but he does get some kills on the onagers. Wow, but he's going to lose another one.
Jeez.
There's halbraids happening. Halbraids are actually sick because the only thing TaToH's going to send there is going to be Hussars. And then onager cut from ACCM in the north. Yep. Does he know about that? Is he paying attention to that? I think he is.
Wow. This is pretty ridiculous. And this is also the point where I don't think we talked about yet that, I don't know about you, I'd rate ACCM as like a top 4 at worst late game player, like full-blown post-imp grindy games.
Agreed.
And TaToH's probably like top 6. But I mean, I know it's a minuscule difference, but it's not inconceivable that ACCM can figure out a way to win this game.
This is also, I mean, we're seeing a lot of lumberjacks exposed right now, which we don't normally see. We see an onager cut from ACCM in the north through to those trees, and then TaToH is also going to hit the lumber and hit the farms in the back. This is crazy. And I wonder if right now there's opportunities for ACCM to actually flatten some Scorps because TaToH's so distracted in all the different angles.
Yeah, and at the very least, you still have plenty of Vills on foot. I mean, look at the queue for ACCM. He's not running out of units anytime soon.
And ACCM doesn't resign when he's 10k score behind, and he should resign. So yeah, this game's going to go on for a while. It's just those Scorpions. TaToH cannot make 31 Scorpions again. And so if they stack up, if he loses them, advantage ACCM. Otherwise, oh man, I'm really liking TaToH's raids. TaToH's killed 30 villagers over the last couple minutes.
Yeah. That's, of course, just utilizing the strength of your Hussars right there.
Look how fast
some Scorpions.
Look how fast the onagers die to the Scorpions. Yeah. TaToH just focuses them. And now ACCM's pop. He's got 95 vills. He's got 80 army, but he's losing that gold. He's still losing vills. He's scrambling.
Yeah, I mean, this is just, it's so tough to play this from ACCM's perspective. It's not impossible for him to win. I mean, he still has his win conditions, right? But he just has to be so present at all places of the map at once. And it feels like so long as TaToH can just keep that Scorp blob alive and very slowly but steadily push here to the south, he's probably got this one.
Yeah, and we keep talking about TaToH not being able to make Scorpions. ACCM has no gold income, so he can easily make onagers to counter the Scorpions, if that is even a counter to the Scorpions. The TaToH, full Hussar, full Scorpion, and then the occasional Ram and Treb. It's working so well right now. And there's 4 Rams in the south. This could break ACCM if he doesn't find a response.
Yeah, that castle is definitely sort of the last bastion of defense here that is protecting all of this extremely exposed farming eco otherwise. It is simply not an area that ACCM can well afford to lose.
I'm laughing because TaToH's at 83 vills and ACCM just killed a bunch with halbs. Like, he also ran Rathas to the back, Lightcap to the back. He's fighting, man. Over 200 villagers have died this game.
And I feel like everyone memes on ACCM for not resigning when he probably should, and there is reason for that. But at the same time, it's not like he isn't actively trying to find a way to win the game.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Sometimes he's just mathematically impossible for him to win. But if there is a way for a game to be won, ACCM is really good at finding it.
Yeah, exactly. He's not griefing, right? He's not someone who's just like trying to frustrate the opponent. Honestly, anytime someone doesn't resign, they're really not doing that. But 115 army versus 90 army in post-im. Crazy army numbers, man.
13k army value for TaToH in a 1v1. That is very, very high. 33 Scorpions still. Yes, TaToH's lost a huge chunk of his eco. His own production is not great behind this, but is TaToH really going to be losing units anytime soon?
Well, he'll lose
ones that matter.
He'll lose the Rams. Yeah, the Hussars don't matter. He can lose those. It's the Scorpions. And ACCM can't save that castle. You can't get close to the Scorps. You just can't.
And without that castle, how do you protect these farmers from the Hussars?
Yeah, and then there's Scorpions and there's Hussars on the other side. There's Hussars in the north now. And I think it's just reached the point where I can't even think of what ACCM could have tried this game, except kill faster. When he had the lead, he needed to finish him off before he got to the numbers. At this stage of the game, well, for the last, 20, 30 minutes of the game in this matchup, he might just be stuck.
I feel like if this map was Arena, it's a lot easier for ACCM to actually close out the game.
Yes.
But because you're Khmer, you have the mobility with the Hussars, so you can just sort of expand away from your opponent. I don't know how it would be possible even for ACCM to close this one out any faster than he was trying to do.
ACCM's got 80 halbs, but he can't fight. He literally 80 halbs on screen, but if he goes in anywhere near, they will die. And by the way, another onager dies to Scorpions, so don't call that a counter unit. And TaToH needs to pull the Hussars back, and then the Scorpions will feast.
Oh no. Like, the crazy thing is that this isn't just like, okay, the Scorpions counter the halbs. It's that the Scorpions will kill 150 halbs and lose 0.
Yeah.
Like, it is just absurd.
And then you can pull 4 of those Scorpions to snipe an onager. You don't. Yeah. The Hussars aren't actually even required for that job. The Desperation onagers will probably get sniped. Oh, but TaToH didn't pull his Hussars back there. And ACCM's got raids in the back of TaToH's base still, don't ask me how, still killing villagers.
And this is the thing, right? It's all ACCM can do is just try and drag TaToH's attention away from his main fight.
Yeah.
But I just don't think it... Again, I think we're getting to the point where it's just mathematically not really there right now.
We'll see. This Onager's key. There's nothing to protect the Onager, so you just need the shot to be perfect. Maybe you have to go for it now, but TaToH saw the flag. TaToH's
it was a real red
more
flag
hussars.
for TaToH's push right there.
Yeah, yep. So he knew to back on up. Oh, what a fight here, man. ACCM's pop. It went down to 140 and then right back up to 180. And now is there no gold on the map? There's 0 gold on the map. We've reached that point.
0 gold, 0 stone.
But
I just...
how can you
relics.
kill 30 scorpions if you have 0 on gold? You can't.
No.
You can't. There's nothing you can do. He's stuck. As long as TaToH keeps this mass alive, which he always will do, he's going to just move all the way back into that farming eco from ACCM. ACCM's
Also,
in trouble.
go ahead.
Yeah, that's it.
I was just going to say, ACCM only has 2 TCs at this point, so
That
it's
hurts
actually
too.
pretty difficult for him to replenish lost villagers, whereas TaToH's on 4. So, although it's obviously not, like, amazing, he at least is better able to do that. He's getting the fortified wall set up over to the west, so that's going to help protect his villagers, and again, just continue this Doom march, which has taken, like, I don't know, 40 in-game minutes to go from the far south of the map.
I mean, it's sad for ACCM because he's like, I gotta wait for my moment. I gotta wait for my moment. I can't fight. I can't fight. I can't fight. But how TaToH's playing this and has played this, almost feels like that moment's not going to come. Now, that's not the thought a believer like ACCM is going to have, but these Halbs just try and move to a different position, and he loses 40 units.
Yeah, jeez. I mean, the KD is just absurd in favor of TaToH. And the crazy thing is ACCM still has 6,000 more gold collected and double the stone.
Yeah.
And yet, it's just like...
It was
nothing for
5...
him to do.
It was like 6 castles versus 1, dude. 6 castles versus 1. ACCM had the golds in the south. ACCM had the relics. TaToH winning this game is absolutely crazy. And he is going to win it now, isn't he? 75 vills for ACCM, as you said. He doesn't have TCs. He just lost one of his 2 TCs. And the Scorpions can't be stopped. Maybe you kill a couple if TaToH splits them up. But TaToH realizes that mistake. And he'll lose 3, maybe. And then everything else dies.
And, you know, it's the Scorpions themselves are 75 wood and gold. It's not like they're impossible to replace. Again, when you're on 4 relics yourself, you can just use the market a little bit as needed. You need to kill way more than 4 Scorpions, and there's the GG called, and what a game number 1, T90.
784 Halbs were made, and they all met the same fate. They all died to a Commerce Scorpion. What a game from TaToH. What a hold. I mean, listen, I think it's pretty clear why we may both feel this way. I felt as though the quadruple buffing of Scorpions at the same time, at least when it comes to the Khmer being involved as well, maybe a little too far. Maybe we will eventually see the Scorpions nerfed in some way, or at least the Khmer. But the population was so good for ACCM at a certain point. I'm trying to look back, and I'm just scrolling through various points where it's like 200 pop for ACCM, 130 for TaToH, 150 for TaToH. And what TaToH did a really good job of in the mid game, Orlu, was he just waited with that ball of Scorps. He didn't overextend. He just waited next to his castle. And then once the upgrades came in, ACCM panicked. I'm not sure what more you can do if you're ACCM, except for maybe open light cav and kill that initial ball and break right into his base. He was really close. If you look even now at that middle castle, that has 3,600 HP. If he had a little bit more when he pushed that, broke TaToH there, maybe he wins the game and we never get to there. But oh, that must be painful for ACCM.
It hurts for sure. That was, I mean, it was insane that TaToH was able to hold on for so long. It was honestly just so well played from both players. But at the end of the day, you need to kill your opponent's army at some point, and ACCM never found a way to do that.
Yep, it was really tough. And you know, hopefully that doesn't affect ACCM's mindset too much. Again, he can still win this series. If he wins the series, he's first place in the group, goes directly to the quarterfinals. And then that's what TaToH's fighting for as well. And again, reminder, nobody can be swept here and still go playoffs. So now TaToH's safe. TaToH will at least be in the playoffs, I guess. But yeah, if ACCM were to lose 2 more, he doesn't even make top 3 in this crazy group. So what a game. Almost seems like a guaranteed banger when these two are playing up against each other. And it'll be good old Shoals for game number 2, I imagine. So we got Shoals, and we have some interesting civilizations. Koreans I've seen before. Koreans do make sense. Towers can be useful on the gold areas. Turtle ships could potentially be a factor. And very good late game for the Koreans. And Shoals can oftentimes go late, so we might have over an hour again. Vietnamese, though. Have you seen Vietnamese before, Ornlu? What do you think about that from TaToH?
I mean, they're fine. I mean, to me, Vietnamese are a civ that are just kind of good on every map.
Yeah.
And there isn't really like a bad situation in which to pick them. But to me, Koreans feel a bit more specialized to this map in particular. You need to lock down specific areas and you need to win water in the late game. And it feels like Koreans are extremely well equipped to do those 2 things.
Yeah, I guess they're well equipped, but they don't necessarily have the eco for it, right? That's probably the difference maker. Maybe a greater peak for Koreans if they get there. Vietnamese, cheaper eco upgrades, faster researching, and that's going to help TaToH ease through the ages here. Now, I've seen Koreans twice on this map, at least maybe more, but I only remember twice. And both times we saw turtle ships. So, viewers at home, you can guess right now how many turtle ships you think are going to see in this game. I'm going to go with 2.
I was going to say 3.
Okay. Well.
But I got to see some turtle ship replicas when I was in South Korea, so I'm very partial to the turtle ships.
That's cool, man. Yeah, I remember, I think Viper went Koreans here. He made 2 turtles and was going to stop, and then they got converted. And then he had to make like 3 more. Oh, I mean, I don't know how Viper ended up winning that game, but he did.
That was wild.
So,
I really want to see elite turtle ships though, because they've been buffed so much, and it feels like all we ever see are some turtle ships in Castle Age. Like it just feels like we never see the elite version.
Is it a case where because Korean Navy in general is cheaper, no one's going to make turtle ships because they have discounted galleons that are already guaranteed to be good?
I mean, it's not just discounted galleons; it's double discounted galleons with the wood discount plus shipwright. I mean, it's just insane.
Yeah. I think that's probably it. By the way, on the topic of Khmer, prior to the recent buffs to Scorpions, like the ballistics change was the biggest one. They also had made a change where they survived more hits from bombard cannons. But honestly, prior to that, Khmer Scorpions were pretty busted, right? 9 range Scorpions, still really tough to deal with. But at least there, it felt like there was some level of counterplay because ballistics didn't apply. And you could micro, and you could make the Scorpion player work. So I do think that the Khmer Scorpions in particular are like really, really, really strong right now. But I did also feel like they were pretty strong before. There's just a little bit more counterplay to it, I guess.
I don't even know if heavy Scorpions are necessarily busted with civs not named like Khmer or Celts.
Or maybe Romans. Because of the
maybe
firing
Romans.
speed. Yeah. It feels like maybe the change they made to Scorpions put all heavy Scorpions in a pretty solid spot. But then the other civs already had those bonuses. I guess we should include Chinese maybe, though no one does that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I don't know. But it was something. It was something that will keep ACCM up tonight if he ends up losing the series. So someone says it's a better meta than Cav Archers. Oh, man. People hate their Cav Archers right now. Funnily enough, I actually think Korean Cav Archers are slightly underrated, and I think there's a very decent chance we see a few of them. Now, long term, I'm not so certain on that, but they are cheaper, and you might want a couple mobile units for map control here.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Only spending 20 wood per Cav Archer is, well, it's pretty solid, and you only miss Husbandry and Castle Age, or Bloodlines and Castle Age. It's not really the end of the world.
Yikes. Don't tell me he's going to lose that. What? Okay, TaToH didn't believe the TC would actually hit on that final volley there. And ungarrisoned, I think there was a chance that scout would have gone down, honestly.
Yeah, I think if it were AOC, then that like you have confidence that that scout's just going to die.
Yep.
And in turn, TaToH lost his scout to the TC.
Oh my god, did they both...
Clearly, they were watching some Ornlu games to practice for this map.
So they both did it at the same time. That might explain why TaToH didn't stay garrison there. Because if I lose my scout before, I'm definitely trying to volley. Wait, TaToH, you're Vietnamese, bro.
I was waiting for you to say that.
You know where your opponent's TC is, and you lost your scout to the TC. That is one of the worst mistakes I've seen in a long time.
Oh my goodness. See, guys, you too can hit 2K8.
Well, I wonder if ACCM's initial strat was to go forward. I bet you it was not, but because TaToH doesn't have the scout, he's now thinking he won't know that I'm not going to dox. He won't be able to see my build. So ACCM needing wins, he's going to go forward. Just want to repeat it one more time. Last round for these two. Winner of the group goes first place and then moves into a quarterfinal. Loser is in the playoffs if they don't get swept. So right now, ACCM still could be out of the playoffs if he doesn't get at least one win.
And Vinchester, a huge TaToH fan right now, as it is Vinchester who is sort of on the hot seat where he does not control his own destiny.
Yeah,
and is just hoping for the sweep now.
I don't know if we've ever had it where someone gets 9 wins and doesn't get playoffs either. We'd have to look back. Maybe it happened once, but that would be pretty disappointing for Vinch to not be in the playoffs. And no loom for TaToH.
Oh.
No loom because he lost his scout. All of this is happening, and the surprise is here. And this is ACCM, dude. ACCM going forward on you is not going to be a good time.
No, that is not something I want to go up against. Also, big wood discount here on ACCM's units. Koreans are one of the best civs at going for this sort of forward play. Maybe that's not the best house location right there in range of the TC. But Scout finally now goes down here for red.
But this is horrible for TaToH. TaToH invested in the walls that now have done nothing for him. TaToH has 2 of his golds in ACCM's vision on the far side. He can't take berries. And he's going to try and take the fish away from ACCM. But ACCM's got his fish underneath the sea tower. So the galleys can't really even do much. And there's a fire galley there. This is so difficult for TaToH right now.
Yeah, the one small bit of consolation there is that the fish is going to run out that's under the sea tower in a moment. So if ACCM actually wants to use those fishing ships, he'll have to put them in harm's way. So like that's a little bit of consolation, but obviously this game is already a mess in a way that TaToH did not want, as the tower is now coming in.
Yeah, and can TaToH see that? TaToH cannot see the towers going up beyond the wood line. That's not the worst tower for now. He can just move away from the wood line. But long term, if that tower stays up with Koreans, TaToH's going to have a really tough time.
I mean, I love playing the whole style with Koreans where you go for the towers, they become guard towers, you just drop a forward siege workshop after the forward, and then it's just so tough to stop.
ACCM, I think, reacting on water. TaToH still looking for those fishing ships. ACCM now doesn't have the stone for a tower. TaToH does, but the 3 forward villas are just going to head over to that stone. So, spears and skirms. TaToH's going to aim to go for scouts, but you can't kill this forward with just scouts. You would have to almost counterattack somehow with those.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough, but not impossible, as ACCM is still pretty open at home. It's just a long rush distance, and you're sort of giving up a lot of potential, defensive possibilities here. Also, someone in my chat said that nobody has missed the playoffs with 9 wins, but multiple of people have missed it with 8.
Okay, good to know. Well, that would be the case. If ACCM wins this game, regardless of what happens, Winchester would be the most successful player to miss the playoffs, I guess. Now, it doesn't feel natural to encounter your opponent going for scouts in this situation. It's nice that ACCM has at least seen it before they're attacking him. So he gets to think about that. Because I wouldn't think there's any reason to make spears in this position after the initial 2. And maybe 5 or 6 scouts could have surprised me. But there's the 4 scouts now, and more spearmen will be on the way.
I mean, he saw the stable, so...
Yeah, he knows now.
He knows what's going on. Both players are going to come in here for a tower, but, well, TaToH has more vills he can throw at the problem than his opponent. The skirmishers aren't going to attack very often. At least this particular angle will be safe for the time being for TaToH.
TaToH, I think, killed 1 fishing ship. Didn't kill the others. I think it's just important for ACCM to remain competitive on water. I think as long as he doesn't lose water and the opponent gets up to six or 7 fishing ships, he'll be happy. He needs to be careful, though. TaToH's engaging on the spears, and ACCM expecting to lose the army will drop 2 houses. That's good, at least, but this could be a horrible loss of his army here.
Ooh.
Oh, my God.
The skirms are trapped. Uh-oh. And all the scouts are attacking. Like, that only works if only, like, 1 scout can attack at a time, but that... with the unit stacking is just not what's happening, and that is a brutal cleanup from TaToH.
Wow, that's crazy. I'm going to tell you exactly what happened there. So ACCM, he knew about those scouts, but his spearmen went home because he was exposed at home, and he thought that that's where TaToH was going to go. He completely misread the situation, and so now that army, which could have been pretty helpful long-term, is not going to be helpful. The 4 villagers are still alive. And ACCM's still safe, but he loses his final 2 fishing ships, and nice job from TaToH to stabilize a bit.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting decision, right? Because you sort of have 3 options there. You can either send the scouts to the other side of the map, which is obviously what ACCM anticipated, or you could go after the villagers to deal with all of that fort stuff and trying to not allow any more buildings to be built, or to go after the army, which is obviously what he did. And... I feel like you can justify all 3 of those decisions, but it looks like this one's going to turn out quite well for TaToH.
Oh, look at that Vil building that palisade wall, which is actually kind of useless. And now ACCM doesn't get the quick walls, and the scouts are going to be through. I mean, there's spearmen everywhere, but considering the previous game, considering the start, all these things, you got to be feeling like TaToH's feeling much better about his situation than he thought he was going to, and ACCM's got to be frustrated.
Yeah, that is not ideal. You have no mobility. TaToH can keep those scouts alive as long as he wants, and he's still getting a competitive castle age time. That said, ACCM has 4 bills on stone. Those are, of course, the 4 forward bills. With Koreans, he can drop a castle as soon as he hits castle age.
This is true, but TaToH should know those vills are there, right? Because there's no army.
Yeah.
And ACCM doesn't know about the range, and he doesn't have skirms anymore. So really what ACCM needs is a defensive tower there. If he builds a defensive tower there, he's fine. But I'm not seeing the sense from ACCM that he thinks that's going to be needed. And so I'm concerned that ACCM is going to lose those vills. TaToH's scouts are still keeping him busy. And what a recovery from TaToH. Those vills are going to be cooked, man. You can't get a tower up.
And the archers are coming forward. ACCM had no idea about the archery range. TaToH has 4 archers here with fletching. All those vills are going to be going down.
And TaToH's still microing those scouts, so ACCM might be looking there. ACCM's not reacting in time. There is a weird little area the vills can go, and he didn't lose one.
What? Okay.
I mean...
You know what? Why not? Why not?
TaToH, he wants to stop this. Can you imagine if this ends up making the difference in the game? He thought about his own tower. He can't do that. And wow, the vills, they stay alive. I guess he has to build another tower, and then he can go back to the stone. Or maybe he just goes back to the stone and builds an outpost. That was a bit fortunate for ACCM.
And TaToH is going to take the opportunity at least to expand over to the west, make sure you secure that gold income, and ACCM is just getting himself protected at home. And like you were saying, he is indeed going to be going for some cav archers.
Yeah, it feels weird because you don't get bloodlines, but the units are super cheap and you get the free armor. So in this situation, Knights is significantly more awkward with Koreans. And free armor, cheap CA, you need mobility. It's not bad. ACCM, they're a little too late with the scout and the spears. TaToH already has a TC there. What a great job. I mean, that's so key on this map. And I think so many players have lost games because they just don't secure that golden castle age and they wait too long.
But look at this. ACCM firing up his navy here. going to be able to sail right back across the map, and he is going to be in a nice spot to take water. And Koreans in the late game with water are going to be really, really tough to deal with.
Yeah, villagers on stone, by the way, getting sniped by a crossbow. So too many things to focus on for ACCM. He'll kill the fish. He'll lose the vills. He's got to defend from the crossbow. Man, these two are so fast. There's so much happening right now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, not a level of multitasking I can see in myself, but it's what makes watching these players so fun.
Well, everyone seems to know what's going on, except for the fact that TaToH does not know there's Vil. No, I'm wrong. He is an outpost. TaToH knows there's Vils near his gold TC. Now, what do you do about that? You're against Koreans. Can you build your own tower here and go for guard tower if you're TaToH?
I mean, it is TaToH, right? So the chances of him going guard tower are significantly higher than the average AoE 2 pro.
Yeah. Yeah, I think ACCM...
I think he'd rather just drop a castle.
Maybe. I think ACCM should drop a tower almost immediately to at least disrupt the gold income. Obviously, that's not going to win you that area, but should slow TaToH down. Remember, 2 tiles of TaToH's gold, starting gold, was near the tower. So he hasn't been able to take that, and he's only got, well, less than 100 gold at the other area at his base.
Yeah, super important area, and there we go. The tower is coming in for ACCM. TaToH does have vision of it. Whether or not he sees it with everything that's going on is a different story. But he's going to need to do something, because you still need gold because your opponent is still making RB and is still applying pressure.
Yep. Cav archers for TaToH as well. Now, this makes a lot of sense long-term. Extra HP on the archers for Vietnamese also applies to the Cav archers, even though that could be a little confusing. You read the tech tree and it says Ethiopian archers fire faster. I don't think it's his foot archers fire faster, but that's only foot archers, right?
And then, let me tell you, if I had my way and I could rewrite the tech tree, oh man, I would make everything so much more accurately descriptive.
But would people have to do a lot more reading if you did it? Or would it be just as precise?
I would try. I definitely would make an effort for it.
Okay.
I had all those years of practice when I had to write that myself when I did the Civ matchup discussion posts on Reddit.
Yeah.
I had to rewrite everything myself.
Okay. Well, I mean, that seems like an obvious one. I love casting with you because I can bring up these tiny little things that annoy me, and you're like, bro, I get it. I feel like it's like very therapeutic for both of us.
Yeah, it really is. It's the sign that we spend too much time thinking about AoE 2.
Speaking of, I get last night, or I guess this morning, I actually dreamt about this whole series. I mean, not exactly as this, but like I dreamt that I was casting the series with you, by the way. And for what it's worth, ACCM ended up winning the first game. So apparently my dream was wrong. But that's where my brain has been recently.
And that's totally fair, because this is a series that's worth looking forward to, and it has already delivered so far. First game was insane. This game already is shaping up to go late with a relatively even position, and I am here for it, man.
Dude, I mean, what a game. Just remember, I mean, close doesn't cut it here. ACCM needs one win to go playoffs, and TaToH is pulling ahead economically. He built a castle, so did ACCM, and so I'm thinking Trebor with these 2 castles on screen.
And that's where free conscription's really nice for Vietnamese. You get like a semi-even imp time, and you can just get those trebuchets out a little bit faster. Also, the first rattan archers are out, and we get to have one of the most boring interactions of all time with rattan archers and war wagons.
Yeah, it's like the tankiest unit. It's a small tanky unit versus
a big tanky unit.
Tanky unit. So I'm going with a big tanky unit on that one. I love how I love how annoying ACCM is trying to be and how stubborn he's trying to be on the right side. So he had a knight attacking that ram. TaToH since noticed this, but ACCM does not want to give up any control on the right side gold. This even drops a tower now.
Also guard tower. There we go.
Yep. Guard tower goes up. Siege workshop goes up there for ACCM. And now the knights and cav archers break through from TaToH just to find a bunch of siege. But, oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, TaToH research guard tower. Okay. I think that makes sense.
Well, I mean, it's the only person who's more likely to go guard tower than TaToH is the Max. And if it was TaToH versus the Max, it would just be like, might as well play Koreans every game.
Those war wagons, though, are really tough for TaToH to kill right now. So he needs... That's going to be his long-term issue, actually. He needs an answer to those castles. So again, Imp would be massive here, but neither player really floating the resources for it yet.
Yeah, it's tough, right? Do you have ballistics in, though, for TaToH? So he's going to have a bit of an easier time taking these engagements. And of course, both of these civs are top-tier skirm spamming civs as well. And late game, they generally don't want to make like cavalry as much.
Yeah.
So it's like imp skirms versus half would cost skirms.
But there's a key difference here in the situations right now with the 100 Vils. TaToH is not actively mining gold. He cannot mine gold on the other side yet because of that tower. And he's now coming to drop a castle to reclaim this gold. There's only 3 cav archers to protect there. There are Vils. There is a Scorpion from ACCM. But is that enough to stop a whole castle from going up?
I don't think so, but I think the bigger issue is that it was just this time frame where TaToH isn't mining any gold is when ACCM is clicking up to Imperial Age.
True.
And that feels like it could be really tough if this indeed becomes a Treb war on either side of the map, honestly.
Yeah. By the way, TaToH's crossbows, I forgot about them. ACCM forgot about them. Maybe TaToH even forgot about them because I think they've been down here for a while. But they're killing Vils. ACCM will notice that. But it will be Trebs in the north for ACCM. TaToH still no Imperial Age. And just around the time he's probably about to click is when it might dawn on him that ACCM has. Look at the difference in the scores right now. I think TaToH should know.
I mean, it's a very chaotic game, and there's also been several buildings destroyed, so that kind of skews things a little bit, but it's definitely something he needs to keep in mind. Now, that TC is not done yet for ACCM, but yeah, I think it's fine.
Wow, that's so crazy. I love how just as that's looking good for TaToH, we look back and TaToH lost like 10 skirms to the fires on the shoreline, so there's just always something that is going right, and always something that's going wrong for both.
Yeah, I mean, TaToH, he found his way up to Imp. He's a minute 40 slower, though, which is obviously quite relevant. But there isn't a castle to the south from ACCM, and he only has 5 Vils here anyway. So, in theory, he should be able to buy enough time, right?
Well, I just can't help but feel like TaToH isn't realizing he's not actively mining gold. Like, he could have been actively mining gold in the north for a while. He's just now shifting some Vils. The Imp TC is on top of 2 tiles of gold, so he needs to shift Vils to that gold. The castle he just built in the middle was on gold, and then he put those Vils on stone and not on the gold. So he's just shifting a bunch now, as I say this, but I think the lack of gold income is going to hurt him in some way. Like, blacksmith techs could be missing, trebuchets could be tough to get to, and with ACCM also getting keep instantly, that helps with the tower war, and also really cheap skirms for the Koreans.
Yeah, and I mean, all of these buildings from ACCM are going to do a great job of keeping TaToH off of gold.
Slow clap.
I'm sorry, I had to.
It's all right. Did you plan that one out in Dark Age?
I really didn't.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't want everybody to leave, so I won't follow that up with my bad joke just yet. I mean, game plan wise, TaToH's, as long as he can secure gold, it looks really good for him. He clearly wants to go all the way up to Imp Skirm, which Koreans can't get to. And then he's not forgetting about the importance of the Navy. But ACCM, all comes down to this timing with the Trebs. And his first Treb's out already. TaToH is likely to lose this castle in the north. Really difficult for him to compete right now in that area.
Something else we need to consider, though, is that the map has a ton of stone on it, which means that even if you lose a castle, chances are you still have enough stone that you have access to mine as needed to get other castles down later on. So long as TaToH has enough gold for the time being, he is okay at least going forward.
Yep, that's a fair point. Also, there's relics, which are really hard to focus on in the messy games, but if you get 4 or 5 relics with a little bit of gold income and you're making an army comp of primarily skirms, things could still be really good for you if you're TaToH.
You also have paper money, which is, remember guys, around 1 relic for 21-ish so lumberjacks, so you can get what is essentially another couple extra villagers. in Imperial Age here as Vietnamese, or a couple extra relics worth of income.
I wonder if we're going to see those elite turtle ships. If you need a bang for your buck ship, turtle ship is it. And wow, that had a ring to it. TaToH's fires showing up on the water here, and there's going to be galleys as well. I think this is ACCM's first moment where he realizes Navy could be a big factor again.
Yep. And okay, I know this is really specific, but it's actually relevant for Vietnamese lake ammo on water that they don't have masonry or architecture, because the building army you get from those upgrades is so huge against ships in particular.
Okay.
As it can make keeping those buildings alive against Navy, like the docks when you're trying to redock here as TaToH, a lot more difficult.
Do Vietnamese get elite cannon galleon?
Yes.
Okay, so they can outrange
But no
these
shipwright.
keeps. But no shipwright. Got it. Well, then I'm still liking ACCM's position, I think. This is a lot of gold in the north. He's also still pushing the other gold side. I mean, this is the big concern for TaToH. It says he has 11 on gold, but that's 11 Vils fighting over the same gold tile. He is not mining gold in these areas. He does have Imp Skirm, though.
Yep.
But he's got to push the towers. It's going to be so tough.
It really is. You also now have bombard cannons being mixed in here for ACCM. That's going to be the sort of unit you want against Imp Skirms. And, I mean, TaToH is hanging on here so respectably, but I feel like we could be seeing the inverse of the first game, where you had ACCM being able to hold on really well, but he just might not be able to compositionally deal with his opponent.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, a bit of a different situation. I think what ACCM has done such an amazing job at this game is utilizing the towers, right? We see Koreans played every so often in tournaments, and I feel like half the time you don't see the towers or the turtle ships and all these things we talk about. Even the wood discount on skirms and spears. He's made primarily skirms and spears. He's made a bunch of towers. He needs to be careful to not lose all of his trebs right now. Like, he needs to be really careful to not lose all of his trebs right now. But I think still the game plan is there as long as he doesn't throw more of these trebuchets.
Yeah, Upsong is in as well, so the keeps are able to match the range of the bombard cannons with Siege Engineer. You garrison those full of villagers, and I mean, I totally get what you're saying about we don't see Koreans played to their, at least, theoretical fullest extent that often. And it feels like that's just, you know, the hamstery world we live in where, like, all the civs are doing similar things, but you lean into what a civ does well in this situation, and it can be very difficult to stop.
Also think Shoals might actually be one of the best maps. It's like it was designed for a civ like Koreans. Really strong Navy, but you don't need to play only Navy, which other civs would dominate. Towers needed in Castle Age more frequently than other maps. So I think it's definitely part of that, and I'm seeing the upgrades that I think make me think that ACCM can close this one out, and that's water. If he can take water, and he can have cannon galleons on the shorelines, he can dominate TaToH. TaToH's whole eco would be exposed, pretty much. And more importantly, TaToH won't be able to push back in the north, which he's trying to do without gold.
And at the very least, you can stabilize with just Imp Skirms here, or at least have a decent chance of that, without really much gold income. You can't even try and win water without any gold income. That's just not something you can do. There is no trash ship that you can use to try and fight these fire ships. So that's just going to be really, really difficult for TaToH going forward.
Yeah, more towers creeping in from ACCM. These towers will go up. TaToH just cannot deal with this and everything else at the moment. TaToH loses a bombard cannon to the Treb, which hurts. Usually that's pretty painful. As a player, it's really annoying, but it's way worse when you have 0 on gold.
Yeah, I mean, it's so tough, and TaToH could have gotten paper money a while ago, which, again, it would have been at least a little bit of a help, especially with 87 on wood. That's like 4 relics worth of gold income right there that he could have been having.
Wonder if Winchester is watching right now, sinking lower and lower into his chair. Yep. Oh, man. Again, ACCM wins this game. We know that Winchester will not be in the playoffs. He will lose that on a tiebreak, regardless of what happens in the third game. And then whoever wins the third game goes first, which makes it epic.
Exactly.
But
for Winchester, it's like watching the Minnesota Vikings go 14-3 and not be able to host a home playoff game.
Don't come on, Bears fan, don't even. All right, it was supposed to be a rebuilding year. All right. We didn't get the hype that the Bears got, and look what happened. So.
The thing is, I just know I'm gonna suffer, so I don't even care.
Well, I didn't care until we started to win, and that's the problem. They made me care. That's the problem. Anyways, TaToH's last 4 bomber cannons are here. His population's still crazy high, but he can't push past all these fortifications if ACCM takes the siege, and ACCM takes the siege. ACCM will take the Trebs, and I think TaToH, he's getting upgrades, so maybe not, but I think he's going to be forced soon to tap out of this one.
I mean, he's still trying, right? Imp skirmishers provide excellent value, pound for pound versus regular skirmishers. But it's just, if you have no gold income, it doesn't really feel too feasible to keep this going. ACCM is able to round out his own tech tree. He's able to get some free into Hussars, which I'm a little surprised about.
A little bit. Actually, you could argue go Cavalier here. Oh man, Bomber Cannon shot just killed like 8 skirms stacked on top of each other on the other side. And
rip.
The tower creep just continues to be an issue for TaToH too. He's got wood and farm eco that's going to be exposed here. There's also a Bomber Cannon on the edge of the map on the right side for TaToH by his wood line. He really needs that right now.
It took the day off.
Yeah, apparently. And TaToH still doesn't have imp armor, doesn't have the gold for that. So the light cav will die pretty quickly to towers and skirms. And TaToH's like, Mr. ACCM, you have refused to resign against me countless times. I too will fight, even though I am most likely dead. But of course, in this case, TaToH's population is pretty high.
I mean, TaToH still has population. I mean, the score is pretty bad, but he's doing okay in res collected. He's doing okay in the KD. It's more of a tactical defeat at this point rather than any sort of single stat.
TaToH told me a story that he was doing a training session with ACCM. The plan was to play a best of 5. I forget what tournament this was for. And I think it was like fortified clearing or something. And the game went 4 hours, right? And it was just a slog. And apparently at various points, TaToH kept saying like, hey, can we stop? Like, I don't care who wins, but like, let's just stop. And ACCM was like, no. We fight to see who wins, right? So eventually the game ends after 4 hours. I forget who wins. And ACCM goes, ACCM immediately sends TaToH the lobby code for game 2. And TaToH's like, ACCM, I'm done, bro.
Like, that's why we need to have MBL and ACCM just be training partners for everything.
he's like, I'm done. Like, a 4-hour game, I'm not playing anymore. We could play more another day. And ACCM's like, why? I just need 2 minutes smoke. Like, let's go. It's so funny. Anyways, the Hussars get the job done. And
there's GG.
1-1. So goes to the final game between these two. Live standings we have ACCM at 9 wins, TaToH at 9 wins. We have Vinchester at 9 wins. Do we also have MBL at 9 wins? I think we do. So. Wow. So a 4-way tie at 9 wins. But of course, one more game for ACCM and TaToH to see who goes up to 10. And this will also send them directly to the quarterfinals. Crazy game. Well played from ACCM. Man, the start was so good. The start was sick. And then when the scouts got into his base and he lost those 4 vills, I thought he was starting to let it slip away, but he turned it around.
I mean, it was just really exciting, well fought. Again, close game. It went to the distance to Imperial Age. And the only sad thing is that this is just a playoff 3 and not like a best of 7, man.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, depending on where they go in the playoffs, they might face each other at some point. And welcome to game number 3. So winner here moves on to the quarterfinals. Loser here will go to the round of 12 against somebody. I'm sure that may be established at this point, but we have a game to focus on. Rocky Forest has been the neutral map a lot of the time throughout the last couple weeks. So a lot of times we've seen it in game number 1 when the stakes aren't necessarily as high and there's not as much pressure. But TaToH playing as the Romans, he'll want this victory, and so will ACCM. And we've got Romans versus Byzantines. Orlu. Okay.
All right. Which Roman Empire are you favoring here?
I will say in the Age of Empires, realm, I would say the Byzantines are incredibly superior when it comes to their army, but they have no eco bonus whatsoever, and the Romans' eco is really tough to stop. And we might see Scorpions again. Another situation where maybe Scorpions could be strong for TaToH.
And it feels so bad for Romans. Like, I mean, I am not a fan of Romans in AoE 2 at all, but like, they're, the thing they had that was really interesting was the Scorpions that benefited from ballistics, and then that was just given to
everybody.
And then now though they just have just cheap Scorpions.
Also,
but they're in an insane civ because they have like the most like boring brain dead eco bonus in the world.
Not only was their bonus given to all civs, but this civilization wasn't even meant to hit ranked, and then the DLC was performing so poorly, they said, okay. So, I mean, maybe Roman's a little bit of an afterthought from the devs' perspectives, but certainly at the pro level, that 5% bonus, as brain dead as it may be, it is really strong, really solid. And it makes life easy for you. And there's really nothing you can do to slow that down, right? You obviously have to get ahead of the Romans, maybe outcompete the Romans with map control here, but that 5% is working already. So I think it's a very even matchup. Now, if it goes late, it's completely lopsided. Bombard cannon for Byzantines, siege ram for Byzantines, arbalest, cheap skirms, cheap camels, halb, cataphract even. All that is just so tough, but I mean, Romans have been able to get by with a pretty lopsided tech tree in competitive AoE 2 because of their economy.
And we just see them picked on these more aggressive maps for that very reason. It's like the thing with the Roman eco is they're one of the few civs whose eco bonus is like just as good throughout an entire game. Like it starts good in Dark Age and it's just continuously good. Even Vikings didn't have that back when they were sort of the super brain dead eco bonus civ, because you still had to be farming, you had to be in feudal age for that. Like Romans can just sort of play these aggressive maps and just use that to snowball that lead throughout an entire game.
So what's interesting about Romans is there's multiple things they can do that are off meta that can be absolutely horrible to deal with. The first one is man-at-arms. If you go for armored man-at-arms on a map where you can't small wall in your vills, you can have a really tough time dealing with that. Now, that's pretty costly. We haven't seen that too many times. I think we saw it just one time in Gold League, but it did work. The other thing, which is kind of the further extreme, is they can play Fast Castle, and they could play into Scorpions. And that can be your only play, potentially. Now, do I expect TaToH to do that? Not necessarily. But that's got to live in ACCM's mind. And then if you think of the strength of Byzantines, you think counter units, you think spears, you think skirms, you think camels. Double armor longsword, even though they're slow, can be pretty good against that, in theory. So, we'll see.
Yeah, and I know longswordsmen are something of a meme, but I still feel like with the civs that do it really well, like Romans, it still feels a little underutilized, especially against civs that don't want to go for a ton of heavy cavalry or a ton of like crossbowmen, which is Byzantines, right? So I feel like there is actually an opportunity there, especially as the rush distance is pretty short here in the middle of the map.
Yeah. I don't know, like, what I've seen against man-at-arm openings is the opponent goes skirm spear opening and they fight off with vills in the early moments. But if you go one step further commitment to it and you go 4 man-at-arms and armor, skirm spear and vill is not going to do it. You're going to lose vills in your woodline. You just are. Now, it hurts your economy to do this if you're Romans, but your economy is already good. So I think you can maybe justify it, and TaToH's making the militia. And ACCM saw the barracks timing and is still advancing forward. So I think he wants to go, like, trash army in the middle. But against man-at-arms, this honestly could get killed off before it gets started.
And look at this. Exactly 50 gold being mined. So this is a very particular, okay, we're going to get hit feudal age. We have exactly 40 gold left over, and we can go ahead and grab the men-at-arms upgrade.
Wow, okay. Now, does TaToH know about any of this? Because he just pushed deer, and he doesn't know where the opening is. Oh man.
Geez.
And he's going to miss this. Now, so is ACCM. He doesn't actually see the militia at all. So this gets very interesting. Still no blacksmith, by the way, for TaToH. But he'll see the wood line. And ACCM must know Man-at-Arms has got to be coming through. He saw the flag on the barracks.
Well, he's not doing anything, though. Maybe he thought it would be like a 2 militia rush or something like that.
Yeah.
But that is obviously not the case. And, well, this is awkward, to say the least, for ACCM.
It is, but if you clump up all your vills, it is fightable. It's doable. It's not efficient, but you can get by without losing anything. Now, TaToH's being kind of patient with this. He's going in, he's going out, he's making his opponent work. But the wild thing is TaToH doesn't know that there's Spear Skirm coming to his berries. He had no clue that this was the play in the first place. So who is the tougher job defending now? I think TaToH has the tougher job defending.
He's getting the infantry armor upgrade. I'm not sure if that's even what you want right now. I mean, it makes fighting with the villagers more difficult, but right now you just need all hands on deck to get something up at home.
Yeah. Well, the tower's really good. I like that.
Yeah.
The scout's pretty weak. Spears and skirms don't kill villas that quickly. Scout got sniped by ACCM there. That's a good play. And ACCM's actually already building a tower behind the wood line. But now armor's in. And now can you fight off with vills? And ACCM looks away for a second. He loses one.
Geez.
And what a mess, dude. What a mess.
And the tower wasn't finished from TaToH, but that might not matter as those men-at-arms are so
They're so
annoying
tanky,
to deal
dude.
with.
They're so strong against vills. There's also another weak vill back there, which ACCM has to run away with. And now TaToH needs wood. He's housed. He needs a lumber camp. He kills another vill,
Yep.
3-0. I kind of like both players' positions. But TaToH killing the 3 villagers and being Romans, you're always going to prefer that position.
Yeah, and already getting nicely ahead in the eco. Yeah, he invested more into the men-at-arms, but this is still just such a nice spot for him. You have to be a bit careful with your swordsman, but he grabs another kill. We're at 8-1 in the KD. And he's looking pretty solid. He just makes more men-at-arms at home.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say he has the answer to the trash because of his opening in the first place. 5 villagers killed by TaToH. Still could maybe get more. I think TaToH really needs another tower. If he can get another tower near that lumber camp, things are going to be looking much better for him. And
But he's got
ACCM...
no eco. How do you do that?
ACCM fortunate because the man-at-arm kind of froze, and I think ACCM will be fine. What a game.
Oh, this is where I wish we could have, like, split screen. Like, you could just have half the screen on TaToH's base, half the screen on ACCM's base. So it's obviously so tough for each player. I mean, even ACCM had to build a rather dubious-looking farm right there, as there's just so much happening.
Yeah, I mean, ACCM does have the hunt in the middle, and he still hasn't lost his massive skirm. So I think the skirm ball can actually get pretty dangerous here for TaToH. If he doesn't have his own skirms or if he doesn't mix in the scouts. But I'm loving the farming eco. 14 farms for TaToH. You've got 5 for ACCM, and ACCM only 28 vills.
Yes, but he does have the hunt, like you said, and of course the thing with the skirms is that they can retain their value and that they just don't die that easily. And at this point, skirms are only dealing 1 damage to swordsmen anyway, so the extra armor doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, the farming infrastructure, the food income being so good for TaToH, I feel like that could be setting it up really well as we get sort of into this late feudal age time frame.
Yep, but there's a risk. Because if there's a lot of skirms out there, and they are able to hit and run here, so it's not doing any damage to the eco just yet, but those men-at-arms are not enough on their own for TaToH to win these fights. Scouts on the way behind this now.
And in case you guys are wondering why we don't see extended men-at-arm play in Feudal Age, this is why. Because the basic counter system is broken by the fact that skirms can counter men-at-arms.
Well,
And
with numbers, and there's a bunch of ideas on that. Some people think, well, maybe man-at-arms themselves were cheaper. That's an idea because no one ever researches supplies. You could also say, you know, maybe skirmishers produce too quickly. In general, we see lots of skirmishers right now. But the key for me, and it was always going to be the case here, it was never about military. It was about eco for the Romans, right? And it's 5-0 eco KD for TaToH. He's not receiving any damage. And this counter man-at-arm play has to pull all the skirms out of position. So I love this for TaToH. The fact that ACCM isn't camping that wood line right now is so important.
Yeah, and TaToH's just able to continue to power ahead with that eco advantage. 900 more resources right now, and he's got the superior KD. I know ACCM's army is cheap, but that still is a very awkward situation. Now, the one thing is that ACCM is actually banking up a decent amount of food right now. But is he even going to be able to make it to Castle Age safely?
Here's the thing. He doesn't know it's going to be scout transition. And it's not just a scout transition. It's scouts and bloodlines. So those man-at-arms, as someone put it, just did a victory lap in the back. And now scouts are going to be coming forward. And ACCM will see this. But this means he has a much bigger problem. He'll need spearmen. And the scouts could go right back to the woodline where there could be some weak vills from before. Little surprised that TaToH didn't immediately go to the woodline, but he didn't know about what's out here. He might be thinking there's villagers on deer still.
Yes, but for ACCM's sake, thankfully he did pull those onto stone, which is going to be important as you usually have to build at least one defensive watchtower on this map anyway.
Yeah.
TaToH actually had 6 vills on stone for a little bit, but seems to be pulling those guys over to gold, but now has 20 vills on food and his Romans, so you can see he is going to be getting to Castle Age resources very quickly, despite the scout investment.
Bloodlines and forging. These scouts are going to stick around a long time. The tower got taken out by the man-at-arms. That's 6 villager kills for TaToH. The man-at-arms are just backing away towards the tower to heal up and stay safe from the skirms. And TaToH on the way to Castle Age. Tough matchup long-term, but 1,300 more resources collected by him.
And that's just how Romans work, right? You have awkward matchups long-term against a lot of civs, but that doesn't matter if you're so far ahead in the early game that you just click up to Castle Age and now can hit it a completely brutal timing. And basically, 2 stable knights should just kill ACCM at this point.
Ornlu, you somehow, in a game where man-at-arms killed contributed to 5 villager kills and a massive lead, have now encouraged some chatters to start making debates on balance to buff man-at-arms. The unit that killed 5 villagers here. We now have debates on
if this were any other map where you could wall in your lumberjacks, chances are they would be getting few to no kills.
Okay, well, that's fair, but maybe it's a map issue then. Maybe it's a wall issue. I'm just saying, of all the times for my chatters to be arguing over man-at-arms being weak, this doesn't necessarily feel like one of them. ACCM would be like, no, please do not make this any stronger. But I gotta love it from TaToH. Now, I can't help but just remember, the longer the game goes for Byzantines, the better it is, and how much military he has that he could upgrade. He could go for pikes. He could go elite skirm. He's got a stable to mix in some camels, too. So there is a chance, but it feels like you're not pushing now if you're Byzantines. You just want to survive what's to come.
I don't even know how you survive, though. Infantry armor continuing to come in here for TaToH, so we like that around these parts. But it just feels like TaToH is going to walk across the map, and because it's impossible to wall and TaToH's units are well armored, it's going to be really tough for ACCM to survive here.
I think as long as he's not caught out of position, it's actually fine. But the positioning he's in right now is a problem. TaToH's able to get around the skirms, get some damage done, and Longsword's still 30 seconds away. If he can fall back, get a couple monks, get a couple knights, I think he can still chip away at those longswords. Most of the men-at-arms are weak. Longsword will come in and there's only 3 units. It's manageable. Like, he's not going to just straight up die, but he's also not going to have the eco.
And, as you were saying earlier, I think that's really the biggest issue. I mean, the res collected difference is getting completely absurd at this point.
Yep, it is.
It doesn't really matter that much what TaToH is making, so long as he's making stuff. And I don't know about you, but I feel like the only world in which ACCM can take super good fights here is if he actually tries to rush to cataphracts. I feel like that's the only unit that's going to be so efficient that it can make up for the eco difference.
Yeah, but I think the cheaper imp, having access to bomber cannon can really help. If you just get a castle at the front of your base, you kind of hope your opponent has to go Trebor against you, and then maybe a couple bomber cannons can hold, right? I agree that Cataphract is probably the best unit. I once played this matchup and had like a 10k res collected lead and just died to Cataphract, so that was fun. But I would have liked to have seen a couple monks in the mix here. from ACCM. I think he didn't do it, though, because TaToH has the light cav. And it's kind of tough to justify monks when the light cav are on patrol.
Well, nice job there getting the lowest HP units there for ACCM. But, I mean, anything that ACCM does at this point is going to be a long shot. That's just how TaToH is able to get that big lead early on. And yet, TaToH is playing safe, right? He's adding an eco. He doesn't have a forward siege workshop. He doesn't have a forward monastery. Do you think TaToH should have been more aggressive here?
No. I think you can have a big injection of army after the 3 TCs are cooking. So I've watched way too many games from you Pudding with Romans. And what he likes to do is the 3 TC boom and then double siege workshop with the long swords. That's where you start to push late Castle Age. That's where you snag ballistics. That's where you push. Because, like we keep saying, the matchup isn't good in Imp. So you can't just boom till Imp. But I guess for the time being, it's just kind of tough for TaToH to justify all the army and the eco at the same time.
The one difference, I would say, to what you Pudding does, which I actually think is indeed underrated, is, again, it's the map, right? You plop a castle in the middle of the map, and how are you going to be pushing with long swords and scorpions? You have to go all the way around, which is just going to be so telegraphed that chances are ACCM's going to be able to find a stop with it. So that's why I was saying that getting that castle here might be the best bet here for ACCM.
Yeah. And he was on stone, but those villagers got pulled, and that night, that's a great conversion from TaToH. Hopped out at the perfect time. But the longswords haven't really been cutting it. The skirms with Bodkin, the occasional knight, they helped against those longswords. It feels like TaToH needs a little bit more. I actually wouldn't hate a mix of longswords and knights. But there is the siege workshop, and it will be scorpions, which is what, 33% cheaper? Or is that another bonus that's 33%?
That's 60%, right? It's like Schlachta Privilege, but with scorpions. That's how I remember it. Unless I'm wrong, which is totally possible.
Wait, so hold on. Ballistas though is the firing speed, right?
Yes, that's the unique
and that's
tech.
33% faster?
Yeah, it's totally not a ripoff of Celts.
Yeah, totally not. And then there's 60% less. Is it 60% cheaper or 60% less gold in the scorpions? I think it.
I don't know the wording, but it works the same as Schlachta, right? Because it's a 75 gold unit that's reduced to 30 gold.
I think it's okay. I think it's less. Yeah, then it'd be less gold because Schlachta is less gold. Got it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, longswords also don't cost a lot of gold. You can have a really efficient food and wood eco in this situation because your army just doesn't cost a lot of gold. And TaToH, even banking gold, even though he's producing longswords and scorpions, but he's out of position here. He loses his monk. He'll lose his scorpions. And this is ACCM we're talking about. And ACCM's just hanging around.
I mean, it's ACCM plus Byzantines. And kind of like we were seeing in some of the earlier games, if you're just sort of existing and not actively dying in this situation, that feels like a pretty big win. That said, TaToH has the res for a castle, but can he actually drop it in an aggressive location? It seems pretty difficult to do.
Yeah. Now maybe he can drop it in the opening right now. Like, he's obviously going to lose these longswords eventually, but this might give him enough time because the skirms have to hit and run to at least place it. Feels like TaToH was just a little late on some production buildings to really go for it. No way TaToH's going for that castle. I think that whatever that reaction was, Orlu, was pretty accurate to my feeling. The was perfect.
Oh my god, you know what? He's not undercommitting, and mad respect for that.
I mean, it's next to a siege workshop, bro. Like,
oh jeez.
I mean, Dowd is already supposed to be out. We'll see his final series tomorrow. TaToH, you got to back away here.
Oh my goodness, the Mangonel is able to escape. The monk play has been fantastic from ACCM. A critical part to this defense is that he's getting like these key conversions. And oh geez, I mean, I really don't like to use the word throw. I feel like it's way overused. But if TaToH is screwing up this castle, that would be a throw.
Yeah. Well, he's got to dive now. He has to. He runs into some monks that get conversions. Great job from ACCM. ACCM Siege will probably be pushed back as well. And okay, the castle will go up. That's what TaToH wanted. Obviously, he would have wanted it further forward initially. But I think this is acceptable. But I also think... Do you want to go Imp against Byzantines? Probably not. So +2 armor out of the blacksmith now for Cav, and a couple Centurions are going to be on the way.
What is this unit, T90? I've never seen this unit before.
Dude, I forget
kind of exotic knight.
I forget the stats every single time, so don't ask me to explain it. But it looks like 13 base attack, 130 HP, pretty mobile, and should be able to help snipe the siege.
But it's the aura effect, right, that he's going for, right? You boost up the movement speed of the longswordsman and the attack speed, so they can better catch up. They can actually catch up and overtake all these skirmishers.
Bro, TaToH is somehow going to take this to the next level and drop an even crazier castle. I mean, this is against Byzantines. The opponent can see everything here. TaToH, you're never getting that castle. You're never getting in there. There's monks. There's some cataphracts. There's some camels. You gotta just chill out, my friend. Back up.
Oh, and guys, this is why we don't see Centurions, because even though their stats are amazing, they're very expensive, and they're quite vulnerable to conversions. Now, we do have Devotion coming in, but like we keep saying, the longer that ACCM is just not dead, the longer the cataphracts are going to come online, or the more time for the cataphracts to come online, and the cheaper Imperial Age.
And credit to ACCM, dude. Credit to ACCM for the fight, right? He could have been writing the Reddit post saying, I don't know why people think Man-at-Arms are underpowered. and, you know, he could have been in that frame of mind. But ACCM just fighting for victory and understanding the matchup. Now, TaToH, he loves to do this already. Like, he goes all in Castle Age a lot. It's a very TaToH thing these days. But there's even more reason to try it now, because he knows this is arriving to that stage of the game where Byzantines destroy me. I need to kill quickly. So... full attack, full armor on the Cav and the Swordsman. I think we'll see Rams. And he's going to go for that castle.
He definitely wants to. And ACCM is switching into archers, which I really don't like. I feel like, you need exactly cataphracts to be able to have any hope here. Cataphract plus monk and then whatever other trash units you can throw in there. Here comes the castle from TaToH, and you just can't take this fight right now as ACCM.
You feel like you kind of have to. You are taking it in the safety of your castle. So you can save your monks, get some good value, but you're never, if you're going Imp, going to deny this castle. I just don't think he was expecting it from TaToH still. I still kind of think this is as good as a fight as you could have gotten if you're ACCM. But you got to keep those monks alive.
Yeah, the monks are super important. I love that TaToH's been mixing in the light cab to help snipe them, as they were sort of... The one thing that was preventing these fights from happening in the first place. That said, I mean, the castle, it's not great for ACCM that it's going up, but it doesn't really deny all that much, just a few farms. And importantly, it doesn't sort of bisect your sort of center eco and your starting eco, right? You can still sort of scooch around to the top, so I really don't think ACCM needed to take much of a fight there.
How big a deal is it right now that there is not a single armor or attack upgrade for those cataphracts? Against full armor, full attack for the longswords and the Cav. You're wondering where TaToH's resources went? It went into the army, but it went into the upgrades too.
Yeah.
Like crazy. And also, his eco is flying behind. 50 on food, only 6 more vills, and he's an age behind, but ACCM has some work to do to push this back.
And it's just the sheer volume of units that are going to be coming in here. TaToH does have arson. He has iron casting. These buildings, even as Byzantines, are going to start to go down. However, Imp is in. You can start maybe to grab chemistry when you think you have the opportunity to do so.
And I really like Arbalest because he already has the ranged upgrades, and because Romans don't get good skirms. So, and it also benefits your castles to get like Bracer and whatnot here.
Yeah.
So you give up a ton of map control with that switch, but it can be good. Look at this. TaToH is going to tower rush the golds here. Just anything he can do to make life difficult for ACCM.
You know, he thinks he's playing AoE 1 Romans when they have the super discounted towers. It's an easy mistake to make because of the same civs in both games, but no, you don't get that in AoE 2.
Guys, we've got Rams from TaToH. He's still not clicking Imp. He's sending everything he can to take out a Byzantine castle. He is all in Castle Age against the strongest castle possible in the game. There still are a couple upgrades that could be snagged, of course. It's only 7,000 HP, but here he goes. Worth pointing out that still no bracer for ACCM's ranged units. And he's building a defensive castle in the back of his base, where it's an absolute massacre right now. Can TaToH do this?
I think there's a decent chance he's having guard tower too. Oh my goodness, of course he does. But, I mean, has TaToH played enough campaigns to know that taking down Byzantine castles without Trebs is a nightmare?
I mean, he doesn't seem to care. He's just completely disrespecting the campaigns. There's no army there to save the castle. TaToH has just thrown ACCM for a loop, and ACCM cannot afford anything right now. He's trying to make hand cannons, but I see 4 in queue, and he has 5 on gold right now.
Yeah, getting those denials is so huge. Denying the, or at least preventing there to be any income for Bracer is huge. That said, ACCM isn't dead yet.
I mean,
murder holes too.
I mean, he's not, but he won't have food. He won't have gold. And TaToH has, I mean, TaToH's got full map control.
I mean, yes, he does, but look at the army count. It's so much closer than it was just a minute ago.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, how many hand cannons do you need until a Castle Age army can't kill it? 20, maybe?
I mean, the Centurions are going to be at least semi-decent against that, and, I mean, this is, if nothing else, such an entertaining game. Also, the Murder Holes Tower. There you go. All of the low elo legend viewers for UT90 who probably yell at that everyone needs to get Murder Holes more often. Right here. Bills can't kill that tower.
Do Romans get arrow slits? I don't even know. I don't.
I think they do.
Dude, I mean, I've never seen someone go Roman guard tower in my entire life, so... I've also never seen a Byzantine castle go down to a Castle Age ram push. Well, that's not true. I'm sure I've seen it before.
Again, you need to play the campaigns. That's like all you do in like half the campaigns.
Yeah, that was tough. I mean, let's reset here for ACCM. Down by 60 vils, not great. Has access to gold. Did take out the castle. Can reclaim his relics. Is taking down some of the towers. But, you know, TaToH can just keep coming here. TaToH, I will say, probably needs imp at this point. That has to be a priority for him. I think he'll get there soon.
Oh, this could be huge. That's a lot of cavalry here, and the ranged blob here from ACCM is a bit out of position. The Centurions are good, but now the Rams are perhaps a little bit exposed even with the Swordsman there. This is such an insane series, T90.
It's just it's so difficult for ACCM though, right? You can't look anywhere else but that TC in this army, or you lose the game. And so it's tough to do everything else you need to do to stabilize. So that's acceptable for TaToH. He all he wanted was the TC. And just waiting for imp now. The tower will kill a few vills there from ACCM. And TaToH can take all the golden stone in the middle. There's no stopping that.
You were right. I mean, I don't disagree. That said, there is still gold in the base here for ACCM. There's another 2,500. It's not much.
Yeah.
But with the compositional advantage you have here as Byzantines, the fact that you are, you know, you still have a little bit of a window where TaToH's not going to be an Imperial Age, it doesn't feel completely hopeless yet.
Hand cannons, they can get up to 20. 20 with like 2 bombard cannons, and I could see it. Before TaToH gets the upgrades. If TaToH starts to snag upgrades, this gets worse. And TaToH did get ballistas for his Scorpions. That seems to be part of his plan. But yes, this is maybe ACCM's moment. He's getting Arbalest now. He should know that TaToH has all the initiative. And he should know that he's on a bit of a clock. And that castle tells you he's not very confident yet, but at least gives you access to some gold nearby.
I think that's actually the right approach, because I still feel like ACCM needs to be in the mindset of, okay, again, I'm not actively dying, so I have a chance here as Byzantines.
Yeah.
So long as I can secure just a little bit more map control, a little bit more gold income, and the closer I'll get to 200 pop. But TaToH has no intention of even waiting for imp right now.
Yeah, and I kind of like it from TaToH. You're fully pop capped. You have 60 on food. You have 3K food. Why not use your army? Like, there's no reason to sit back and save most of this. The Centurions are the only gold unit in there. And so he'll continue to just surround ACCM, make ACCM work. And he's still thinking about it, too. There's stables to the north of ACCM's base. He also... Did he build a forward university and siege workshop to the south? I guess he did.
Always learn at your opponent. Throw books at them. At the cost of textbooks these days, it's not a cheap army, but you know what? It'll get the job done.
That's what doing research on your opponent looks like. He's literally researching right on his opponent. And the Scorpions flatten the army in TaToH.
Oh my god.
TaToH says yikes.
Oh, GG. TaToH getting first place in the group. Wow.
Wow, what a
we
finish.
got NBL Kapach, last week? And we got this series today.
It was a great series, dude. Great series. I just wonder what ACCM thinks about Scorpions at this point in time. Because game number one, he played like an absolute animal and just couldn't stop the Khmer Scorpions. And then the Roman Scorpions was just the cherry on top. I do think that TaToH didn't need to make a single Scorpion in this game. He still probably wins. He did so well with that all-in Castle Age play. I mean, look at the difference in economy. After pushing that castle, he was just flying. But Scorpions obviously finished the job, and TaToH will go top of the group, move on to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, again, such a high-level series between these two players. Every single game came down to the wire, but I think that TaToH getting that big lead early on in this game, it sort of just opened everything up for him. And he was able to be in that spot. Oh, I also got Arbesa's very long message about how the tiebreakers work.
Yeah, I guess we can look at that. I will say one thing, though, in terms of how ACCM could have had that go differently. Obviously, he lost the Vils. There was a point where he brought like his 15 skirms home to chase 4 men-at-arms. I think if those skirms stayed in TaToH's eco, that gave him a better chance because you were kind of alluding to it. You get to the skirm numbers, you can hit and run and kill off men-at-arms still, and that was before TaToH had the scouts. I just wonder, TaToH had his woodline right there. I wonder if ACCM ignored the man-at-arms, if it's okay. Then again, if you ignore the man-at-arms, you lose more Vils, which was previously established. So that's, it's cool to see Man-at-Arms at play in Rocky Forest. I was kind of expecting that the whole season. Didn't end up panning out. Okay, so get ready to put your thinking caps on, folks, because the live standings are in, and maybe for the first time we've had a tiebreak scenario like this. So earlier today, MBL got the job done to get second place in the group. He won 2-1. TaToH then wins 2-1. Which means it is TaToH at 10 wins, MBL at 9, ACCM at 9, and then Vinchester at 9. So we had a 3-way tie. Second and third place spot goes playoffs, and Vinchester is in fourth. Now, the tie breaks go as follows, based on my memory. I think we get into a bit deeper, but first tie break is set wins, where they're tied. And then the next is what's map wins? It's set wins. And then it's head-to-head. But then you have a 3-way tie. And so now I need to look to Arbesa's message. How long is this message? I'm terrified.
It's actually the more straightforward outcome because MBL, I'm just reading this now, MBL beat ACCM 3-0 and Vinch 2-1. So he gets the second place because he won both of those tiebreakers.
That makes sense.
And then ACCM beat Vinch 2-1.
Oh, okay. Well,
so he gets that tiebreaker too.
Okay, well, that's actually very clear. I was worried that it would be more confusing than that. Yeah, but basically, if you look at the head-to-heads from these players, Vinchester just didn't have the results against the players he's tied with here. And so that determines the group. So Vinchester will be platinum again next season, which is amazing. But he is now the most successful player ever in TTL to not make the playoffs, which is obviously quite sad. But
yeah, that's unfortunate because Vinchester is one of those players that makes every tournament he's in better. But I mean, it's just such a sick group. I mean, it was my favorite group going into this, and it absolutely delivered.
Yeah, and honestly, It was the true group of death, at least so far. There will be more groups to close out, of course, but crazy finish. I wonder if we have the bracket somewhat updated now, though. Because we might be able to know some of the matchups for the playoffs at this point. Should tell us half the brackets. Somewhat. So we do have it. Thank you, Liquipedia editors.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Okay, so it's TaToH ACCM in the round of 12 and MBL Nikov.
Yep. So that's set. And then TaToH in a quarter and Hera in a corner. Did I say corner? I meant to say quarter.